Okay, let's continue to discuss this paper. The governance of directors' compensation. This is a beautiful combination of corporate governance, legal institutions, and the cultural identification paper. It addressed the question with some implication. When directors set their own pay, can the law constrain them? And was written by Lily Fong and Sterling Huang. This paper was published in Journal of Financial Economics, which is the top tier of finance journal. Very, very low acceptance rate, like below 5%. If you submit 100 papers, only less than 5 papers will be accepted and published. So the journal focus on the papers which has some innovative idea and create a new area or new direction. So the best paper leading the writers and the researchers to write the good paper and the good writing style and very story orientated. So legal field cooperate with a corporate governance field, finance field, banking field, and capital market field. And they will have a lot of diversified topic to be examined. And this is a paper combined with a legal institution and corporate governance, and using the difference in differences analysis to make this result. Okay, the motivation, why should we care this topic? And the data showing 20 years that the directors earns 5 times of median household income. And these directors usually a part-time job, and they usually connected a lot of company. So that means one director in 1 year earned 342,000 US dollars. And this is just the directors. But this is a part-time job. They only have meeting like 1 quarter, 1 times, depending on the committee you attend. If you attend the auditing committee, they may frequently have meetings, but not every day. So if you attend the compensation committee, you may have meetings more frequent, but not every day. So this is a part-time job, and this director can set their own pay. So there have some problem about the self-dealing. Equity link pay is now 66% of total compensation. So most of the compensation not paid by cash. In Magnificent Seven company in the US now, the same. Every employee have the compensation and the salary, but part of them was paid by cash. And more than half of them were paid by stock or option. And most of the employee would like to obtain the stock more than cash, because if this performance link equity, so if the stock price goes up, the same shares will have manipulate multiplied amount of your pay. So this is the scheme of the compensation. The same one, 66% was paid by equity link, including stock and the option. So this have some concern about the agency problem. Who monitor the monitor? We have boss set salary of employee, but who set the boss the salary. He did. So this is something like a self-dealing problem on this paper. So this motivates the entire paper. The monitor of CEO is possibly extracting rents. So if the monitor is compromised, the whole governance systems will collapse. So this is one motivation. And the research question has some more about like this is a long-term trend, compensation, and do directors exhibit self-stealing, and can the legal rule, Delaware rule, affected governance this issue, and if this governance improve, could it increase the firm value? How do different directors respond? So there is a cross-sectional heterogeneity test about the high director pay versus low director pay. And some of them are motivation. Question 3 to 5 is causal relationship test. So what's the problem about this? Okay, so this is the data. We can see the 2000 to 2020, and increasing total compensation, increasing salary and bonus. Equity compensation significantly increasing. However, option, we can see significantly reduced. And stock increased significantly. Other than option, all others are increasing significantly. So this is the fact about the table. So this is a very special shift. So we can see directed pay increase, equity pay increase, and only the option collapse is consistent with the post-20 shift away from risk-taking incentive. So only option collapse from 61 to 6. And this is a very special characteristic because option have value when the manager are more risk-taking. So more risk-taking could be successful, could be collapse. So if success, the option value increase significantly. So option in this component reduce significantly. So this is a special component of the paper. And how should we interpret this shift? Others all increase other than option. So we can say that the shift away option reflect both better incentive design and the strong legal governance constraint. So there have two perspectives to using this interpretation. Traditional view is very hard to explain. If we use the paper's insight about the governance and the legal perspective, actually, options are legally fragile and hard to value, and easy to challenge, and also risky in lawsuit. So stock, on the other hand, are easier to justify and cap. But after Delaware ruling, both prefer equity instrument that survive a legal scrutiny. So you will not pay less, but pay more safely and can avoid the legal suit. Okay, so this is a shift from option to stock and the other compensation component. What's the problem of that? Okay, so there are some industrial variation. So high-paid director allocated in healthcare business equipment is much higher compared to the lowest director pay, utility, and consumer durables. It depends. This is not high tech. High technology does not is the highest director pay. So this break the old idea that the director pay is uniform. It's not equally distributed across the industry. It's highly tailored. It's not working about this one. So evidence of self-dealing, there have some literature review. So support this issue. So about 2004, weak directors overpay, and about the director pay higher with CEO pay, even when performance downgrade. So there have some evidence on the literature review saying that this evidence exists long time ago. Director time option grant to low stock price day. This is also belong to self-dealing from the literature. So these are not excellence. These are patterns. 去找一个新的。去把，没关系，再换一个好了。Okay, so why legal standard matter? There have two standards, business judgmental rule and the anti-fairness standard. Actually, this could be applied to default. An anti-fairness standard can be applied to self-dealing. But director must prove fair dealing plus fair price. So it's very costly and risky. So this could be a protected standard rule. And this entire fairness is a SWOT. So after let me see. So after that, the Delaware rule apply. So this could apply to many firms, because in America, 50% of public firms incorporate Delaware rule. So there have some reason for using Delaware rule in their compensation rule. But in compensation, this friendly was questioned in 2012. Also, this paper explored Delaware as the treatment population. It's a very blind design. Slager, 2012. So the case, Seinfeld and versus Slager, 2012. So the court ruled some limitation. We can see that shareholder approval is not enough. Compensation plan must have a meaningful limit. And if plan offer broad discretion, director face entire fairness. There have some law for the theoretical maximum plan for per director. So this is a very important key point here. So stockholders approve full discretion is insufficient. On the page is 16. So this is just a shock. So boards suddenly bear liquidation risk of self-awarded pay. So this is from the 2012 following the case. So this case is very strong and being used in this paper as a differences analysis. Okay, so first of all, can you guys answer this? So we almost have 10%. Why did Seinfeld versus Slager ruling matter economically? You guys answer almost correctly. It increased the liquidation risk for discretional director pay. So this is from the low governance to constrain the director's pay. It's very good. It doesn't work, so I have to continue this. Okay, so sample and construction data sources here. Wait 1 minute. Many databases combined together to conduct this empirical study. We can see that 20 years listed company, they have compensation data, board director data from board decks, including committee membership, director tenure, profile, gender, external board seats, and salary bonus, and so on. So this is the board decks and financial statement from CompuState, including financial items, and stock price from Cripps, institutional ownership from Thomson Reuters 13F, and others state incorporation data from SEC 10K. So this is a large database combination to this topic. The baseline empirical model. Interaction. Dependent variable is direct compensation. It depends on total compensation, equity compensation. And equity can separate into two components, option and the stock. Or you get cash from salary and the bonus. So all this could be individual dependent variable. And here is the difference in differences design. So treatment group is the firms incorporate in Delaware ruling will be given a 1 or otherwise will be given a 0. So 0 and 1 and post is after 2012, 4 years long. So after the ruling, Delaware given a 1 or otherwise before that, 4 years ago, will be given a 0. And fixed effect and control variable. So we should focus on beta 1 coefficient. That's the main story. The other, like a control variable, is very minor. We have to control all of this, but we should focus on the main story, difference in differences story. And we should focus on the story along with the compensation, including total compensation, equity compensation, option, stock, and salary plus bonus. So we focus on the interaction term. No matter the paper control, without control variable, control firm characteristic, director characteristic, control for the director fixed effect, we can see the result. All consistent and very strong. So after the event, after the Delaware ruling, we can see firm located or incorporated with Delaware law significantly reduced the total compensation, equity upon compensation, along with reduced the option compensation. So all these results are very consistent. But interestingly, stock doesn't being affected. So after the ruling, after the event, only stock was not affected. And the others significantly reduced, especially option. And compensation, equity compensation significantly reduced, was dominated by option component rather than stock. because stock may increase them. So even though total compensation reduced, but it's because the option reduced. And this reduce what affected the equity compensation and affected the total compensation. So this is a very strong result using Delaware ruling event. So the parallel trend here. You might confused about the result, but take a look at that. This is not parallel, actually. If we say that it's parallel, we should have two trends, but there have only one trend. So this is not a very traditional parallel, but this trend can give us some answers about the event. We can see before the event, the yellow line, the total compensation is around in differences around the zero because the horizontal is around the zero. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes negative, but it's around zero. So that means there have no significant increase or decrease before the event. It's around the area of zero. But after the event, we can see that is significantly far away from the zero and decreasing significantly on equity composition and total composition. So this is a parallel trend, but not very traditional. We should combine with two trends. One treated group, and the other is untreated. But this paper only showed this single line. So before I showed you table 5, can you answer that earlier? Let me see whether you understand. We see some significant reduce on director's pay, but now I am asking you the result and the story was centered on high pay or low pay directors or indifference. Which one is most strongly supported? Okay, so far we have a very nice answer on this. Accurate, 100%. Was concentrated among high pay directors. So this is a interesting story. If we take a look at the next. Okay. If we take a look at and compare the cross-sectional analysis, we will find that the result have some heterogeneity. So the heterogeneity means a high pay director and low pay director have different impact. This is a high pay, this is a low pay. We can see the same coefficient concentrated and the sameness the overall sample was high pay director. As for the low pay director, the coefficient are either insignificant or otherwise not the same. Okay, so a high pay director, we can find option significantly decrease. We can find equity significant decrease, but salary bonus does not affect it. But low pay director, it increase. And even though both of them significant decrease the total compensation, but the components are different. The stock increase, option decrease. And this combination, similar story, is aligned with the total story, only concentrated on high paid directors. So high paid director responds to Delaware legal shock more rather than a low paid director. Okay, so this is the announcement effect. There is something I need to explain. So here you can see the stock return. We see that after the announcement, 3 days later, the stock price goes up positively, significantly. The p-value is significantly, right? And because you might say that all this are always the same, it only happened in Delaware group. But compare with the different period of the 3 days ahead, it does not have this effect, right? So we can see that the effect came from Delaware ruling announcement. So after the announcement, we can see that stock price goes up. And some people may have some concern about, or you might choose the specific time that happened to have this result. So we usually will do placebo test. This is a very, very important test. You can pick another period, not centuries on announcement before and after. You can pick another period, but combine with Delaware and not Delaware. So we can see we pick another period that does not around the announcement effect, and then it does not have this effect, insignificant. So the positive and the significance, the stock return came from the announcement of Delaware ruling was definitely supported. Other than stock return, Tobin's Q is measured by market value divided by book value. We can see that there's a corporate value increase significantly too. So this table is very important is because the author doing placebo, that's a PhD level. And potential spillover effect, I just asked you why, because the paper ruling out excludes some state, but the result remain. It's a very good test. So 2012, and then after 5 years, they have another rule, 2017. So 2017, there is an investor bankrupt. So following the 2012. So some reader may have some concern about, the following result might be affected and have some ambiguity about the Slager's effect. So the paper doing this, finding that the net effect is still very strong. How did they do that? We can take a look at 27. So after 27, so 2012 to 17 in table 8, we can see that the coefficient, almost the sign, almost the same sign. Sign doesn't change, but the coefficient is getting bigger, right? So we can see compensation in 2012, 9.5. In 2017, it becomes 10.2, significantly increase. And 13, because this is have no the equity, and we can see the option. 34, it decreased to 36. So 2012 is the primary shock, and then following that, investor bankrupt reinforce this constraint. So two legal systems, two legal constraints, showing that the results are very consistent and have long-term governance impact. Okay, so can you guys answer this again? Two legal shocks following 2012 and 2017. Accumulated effect. To 2017, reverse the price shock, primary shock. It seems not right. Okay, so our correct answer is C. Okay, so the legal constraint had a persistent and a reinforced effect. It increased the coefficient and doesn't change the sign. So this is another robustness test. So when we go to see the robustness check, we can see that the paper doing a lot of fixed effect interaction, direct fixed effect, state yield fixed effect, and the placebo event, pre-test, pre-trend test, and the excluding rule, and so on. So the result are very robustness, doesn't change. So they did a lot of work. And finally, you guys say Tesla, Apple, Pfizer's, Meta have increasing compensation. Actually, you find that. And this is a general question without specific answer. But when you guys hear the presentation and the data, are U.S. directors today still overpaid? Yes or no? Hard to tell. Depend on industry. Hard to say. Yeah. What's interesting, some people say yes, some people say, hard to say, some people say, depending on the industry. Yeah, there have no specific answer for this one. If it's me, I will pick D, depending on industrial. Okay, so because we find that data showing some firms in some sectors may not align with the story. They did not reduce the compensation, even though they apply to Delaware ruling. So it might depending on the industrial and the other factors. Still overpaid, but getting less. The cases may improve and have some limitation about the maximum pay, because overpay can be constrained by legal system. And after the event, if you have to pay more, you might change in your component of the compensation using stock. And the stock is a performance-linked stock. So when you pay for that, it costs less, but costs fair. Okay, so this is an important component. And then finally, we have some conclusion to be made. What have you learned from this paper? This paper is an excellent example of how law, economics, empirical design come together to answer fundamental governance question, which is compensation design for the monitor of the firm, board director, the top level. So what have you learned from this paper? We have a final takeaway. Will be each group say 1 point. Yeah, we can know that all this happened. If you have governance, can improve the accrue value. And we have an exogenous legal shock. We know that it's powerful empirical strategy, and compensation design must consider both incentive and legal risk, and so on. But one group say one thing you have learned from this paper, and then we will end this section. Can anyone answer that? Yeah. High compensation doesn't equal to high performance pay. Is that right? Yeah. And any others? What you have learned? Group 1. Just one sentence. One sentence. Who can answer that? You? Yeah? Yeah. What have you learned from the paper or all the cases? Yeah, especially for high-paid directors. Delaware ruling event constrain the director's pay, especially concentrate on high-paid director. Okay, so this is a heterogeneity effect. And you have a spillover heterogeneity. We have a difference in difference control and the robustness tag, parallel trend. You can see anything from the paper. And there have a cumulative effect. You can also say that. You. Just one sentence. I will let you go. 13. And you? What have you learned from the paper? Say it again. What? Yeah, legal system can constrain the director's compensation on your work. Difference in differences. And good number, you. Can you say that? Director's compensation was is not demanded by amount, and it depends on director's remuneration is not determined by the amount, but by whether it lacks a valid binding contract. I don't get it. Very intangible. But it's okay. But the same meaning, but the pattern and the wording could be more specific. Okay. Today our discussion ends here. I hope that you learned something because it's just another view about the corporate governance. Okay, and thank you very much for your participation and the presentation. I think you guys performed very well. And other than that, the next week we have a Christmas Eve, right? So we have a 1 day off. And then the next week we have a senior MBA proposal presentation. And this time they have only 3 proposals to be presented. So on that day, we have a lot of time. We may just 10 minutes, one proposal. So half an hour, we will be finished the class, and we will give you the time to write your final report. So during this period, if you have any questions about your proposal, you can just log on Teams. So every Thursday night, I will be there to answer your questions, if any. Okay, and thank you very much today. Our class will be over.